The Orion Expanse was a place most humans avoided, a stretch of space littered with old star stations, drifting cargo ships, and broken satellites. It was considered dangerous and empty. Yet Kale, a scavenger by trade, had made a life of wandering such forgotten corners. For him, the Expanse was not just danger. It was opportunity. Pieces of lost technology could be found here. Machines that might still work or parts that could be sold for a good price. Kale had learned to survive where others feared to go. That day, he maneuvered his small shuttle through a field of debris, scanning for anything that might be useful. Dusty lights flickered in the distance, remnants of an abandoned station barely holding together. Its hull was cracked, metal twisted and worn by years of neglect and asteroid impacts. Most people would have turned back, but Kale was curious. The human mind had a way of finding hope in unlikely places, and his eyes were trained to see beyond the obvious. As he stepped onto the station's landing platform, Kale felt the quiet hum of old machinery and the faint smell of burnt circuits. The silence was deep, almost heavy, like the station itself was holding its breath. Kale moved carefully, stepping over loose panels and broken wires. He carried a small toolkit and a container of lubricant, tools he always kept on him. He had learned long ago that preparation could save more than just machines. It could save lives. He rounded a corner and froze. Half buried under a pile of twisted metal and broken cables was something that was not completely dead. Its form was humanoid but clearly mechanical, with a sleek design that suggested it was more than a simple worker robot. Its chassis was dented, paint scraped off in jagged patches, and one of its arms hung at an odd angle. A faint blue glow pulsed from its chest area, the only sign that any power still flowed through it. Kale knelt down beside the figure, examining it closely. It was an android, that much was clear, but it was not like the maintenance bots or security droids he had seen in the past. There was a level of sophistication here that suggested intelligence, perhaps even consciousness. Its eyes, dark and lifeless at the moment, seemed to hold something hidden, something waiting to be awakened. Kale's heart skipped a beat. Machines didn't usually inspire empathy, yet this one stirred something inside him. He set down his toolkit and began work. First, he cleared away the debris, lifting metal panels and carefully separating wires that had been crushed or bent. His hands moved with precision, guided by experience. He cleaned the joints and added lubricant where the metal had grown stiff. Each motion was gentle, deliberate, as if he were coaxing a living creature back to life. Hours passed, though Kale did not notice. The station was quiet, save for the soft hiss of his toolkit and the occasional groan of shifting metal. Finally, after much careful work, he replaced a damaged power relay and connected a temporary energy line to stabilize the android's core. The blue glow in its chest brightened, spreading outward slowly. Kale held his breath. "Come on," he whispered. A soft whirring sound filled the area. Then one of the android's eyes flickered open. A faint light glowed within the dark lens, scanning Kale as if trying to understand him. It spoke, its voice calm but weak, a mixture of mechanical tones and something almost human. "Where am I?" Kyle felt a strange warmth at hearing the android speak. "You're safe," he said simply. "I found you here. You were broken." The android tried to move, but a spark of pain, or what might have been pain in a machine, flashed across its lens. Kale quickly poured more oil into its stiff joints, easing its movements. The android shivered slightly, a strange mimicry of life, and looked at Kale again. "Thank you," it said softly. Kale shrugged. "Don't mention it. Just doing what I can." He paused, studying the android. Its design was sleek, almost elegant, with smooth curves and intricate plating. Whoever had built it had spent effort not just on function but on form. Kale wondered who might have owned such a machine, and why it had been left here, abandoned and broken. "Can you move?" Kale asked. The android attempted to lift its arm, but the movement was jerky. "Limited functionality," it replied. Its voice was measured, careful, as if testing itself. "Systems damaged," Kale nodded. "I can help with that. I've got some supplies in my shuttle. Nothing fancy, but it should get you moving again." The android tilted its head, considering him. "Why, help me?" Kale smiled faintly, unsure why he himself could answer. "Because sometimes the right thing isn't the easiest thing. You look like you could use a hand." There was silence for a moment, then the android gave a small mechanical hum, a sound almost like a sigh. "I do not understand your species fully," it admitted. "But Your action is noted, Kale chuckled lightly. You'll get used to humans. We do strange things sometimes. For the next few hours, Kale worked tirelessly. He replaced corroded circuits, tightened loose bolts, and calibrated its visual sensors. The android responded slowly at first, stiff and awkward like a newborn learning to move. But gradually, movements became smoother. It could sit, then stand, then take a few careful steps. Each small success was a victory, and Kale allowed himself a rare feeling of pride. As night fell over the station, the android finally stood fully upright, its eyes glowing steadily. Operational. At 50%, it announced. Systems. Stabilizing. Kyle examined it carefully. That's good enough for now. You'll improve faster with time and you'll need a name. The android paused. I do not require one. Kyle smiled. Maybe not. But names make things easier. I'll call you Orion. The android's eyes flickered again as if considering the name. Orion accepted, it said finally. Kale nodded, satisfied. All right, Orion, we'll take it slow from here. There's a lot you'll need to learn about the human world, and I might need your help too. This place isn't safe alone. Orion tilted its head slightly, studying Kale. I'm willing. Kale felt a strange sense of connection. It was rare to find companionship in a place like this. Rare to feel that someone or something understood the weight of survival and the small acts of kindness that could change everything. For now, though, Kale was content. He had given a second chance to a broken machine. As they prepared to rest in the shadows of the station, Kale did not realize that his small act of care was about to ripple far beyond the expanse. Somewhere out there in the darkness of space, others were already taking notice. Humans, it seemed, were capable of surprises even the galaxy could not anticipate. And Orion, once abandoned and broken, would soon discover that life, even for a machine, was far more complex and far more rewarding than it had ever imagined. The next morning, the station's weak sunlight filtered through cracked observation windows, casting long shadows across the rusted floors. Kyle woke first, his body stiff from sleeping on the cold metal. Orion, the android, was already standing nearby, testing its movements again. Its mechanical limbs moved smoothly now, almost human in grace, though still precise in a way only machines could achieve. Kale rubbed his eyes and smiled. You're improving fast. Orion turned its head, its glowing eyes fixed on him. Efficiency, increasing. Stability confirmed. Human influence and significant. Kale chuckled softly. I didn't do much. Just helped you get moving again. You did the rest yourself. But deep inside, Kale knew it was more than just mechanical repair. In the quiet moments of adjusting wires, lubricating stiff joints, and replacing damaged circuits, he had done something rare. He had shown patience, empathy, and care to a being who had no expectation of kindness. And in return, Orion had begun learning, not just about survival but about humanity itself. For the next 3 days, Kale and Orion formed an unusual partnership. The human scavenger worked with his usual tools, tinkering with machinery, repairing broken panels, and scavenging whatever useful parts he could find. But now, Orion assisted. It could lift heavy debris effortlessly, calculate precise angles for repairs, and even suggest improvements to Kale's makeshift methods. Its mind processed data at a speed Kale could never match, yet its interactions carried a curiosity that felt almost human. You humans are strange creatures, Orion said one morning as Kale repaired a rusted power relay. You take risks, for reasons other than efficiency. You help for reasons beyond calculation. Kale paused, wiping his hands. I guess we're complicated like that. Sometimes we do the right thing because, well, it's the right thing, not because we gain something. Orion processed this for a moment. Curious, illogical, but functional and social bonding. I understand in theory, but not in practice. Kale laughed quietly. You'll get there. You just need experience. Despite the android's growing knowledge, it was clear that Orion was still learning basic human behaviors. It mimicked small things, the way Kale sipped nutrient packs, the way he stretched after hours of labor, even the way he hummed softly when content. Each action fascinated Orion, as if the simplest human gestures were revelations. Kale in turn found it amusing and endearing to see Orion attempt these behaviors. There was a gentle warmth in the station now, a quiet companionship that neither had expected. One afternoon, Kyle took Orion to the observation deck. The station's glass was cracked in multiple places, but the view of the expanse beyond was still magnificent. Stars glittered in the endless black distant planets shone with soft colors, and drifting debris created strange patterns of light. "Look at that," Kyle said, pointing. "Humans have always wondered what's out there. Space is big, dangerous, but beautiful too." Orion tilted its head. Beauty, defined by visual, pleasure, and emotional response. Correct? Kale nodded. "Yeah, it's more than just what you see, it's what you feel looking at it. Wonder, curiosity, maybe even a little fear. All part of being human." The android's glowing eyes lingered on the stars. "I do not feel fear as humans do. But there is interest, perhaps analogous to your description." Kyle smiled. "Interest is a good start." Over these days, Orion began to speak more openly. It asked questions about human history, human habits, even human emotions. Kale answered as best as he could, sometimes exaggerating, sometimes simplifying, but always honestly. In return, Orion shared data about its own experiences, fragments of memory from before it had been broken. Kale realized the android had been created for more than labor. It had been designed to think, to learn, and perhaps even to choose its own path. "You were abandoned?" Kyle asked one evening as Orion processed data about its last mission. "Incorrect term," Orion corrected. "Systems were disabled, and I was left, unmonitored. Original. Owner unknown." Kyle frowned. "Some people leave things behind for selfish reasons. Some leave by accident. Doesn't matter now. You're here and you're alive again." Orion paused. "Alive is subjective, for my kind. But operational status. Restored. Gratitude. Initiated." Kale laughed softly. "Gratitude works. That's enough for now." Their bond deepened through small acts of daily life. Kale would cook nutrient packs over a portable heater, while Orion meticulously arranged tools and spare parts. They shared quiet meals in silence, broken only by Kale's stories of his travels or Orion's analytical observations. The android began to experiment with humor, awkwardly attempting human expressions it had observed in Kale, which caused the scavenger to laugh heartily. "You're terrible at jokes," Kale said one evening, shaking his head. "But I like the effort." Orion's eyes flickered. "Effort, appreciated. Observation, indicates. Laughter as positive reinforcement. Learning, continues." By the third day, Kale realized that Orion had grown beyond a simple machine. It had curiosity, loyalty, and a spark of personality. It learned not just by data, but by observation, reflection, and interaction. And more surprisingly, it seemed to care for Kale, not just as a human providing repairs, but as a companion, an ally in a dangerous, lonely place. Kale also began to understand a truth about humans themselves. Their strength was not in muscle or machinery, but in connection, in empathy, in compassion, in the willingness to help others without expecting reward. And in that quiet station, at the edge of the expanse, he saw that strength reflected back at him in a machine learning to be more than its programming. On the evening of the third day, as Kale repaired a small communication array, Orion paused and observed him. "Kale, you are remarkable. Your actions defy typical human behavior. Altruism, present, creative, problem-solving, evident, emotional, attachment, forming." Kale wiped his hands on his pants, smiling. "I'm just trying to survive, Orion, and help you survive too. That's what friends do." The android processed this. Friends, defined as beings who support each other willingly, without coercion, Compatible. Designation. Kale laughed softly, a sound that echoed in the empty hallways of the station. Yeah, I think that fits. That night, Kale slept with a sense of calm he hadn't felt in months. Orion stood watch, its sensors scanning the station, ensuring no sudden danger approached. Even though it was a machine, it acted with care, as if guarding not just Kale's life but their growing partnership. In the quiet hours, Orion reflected on its own existence. It had once been designed for tasks, efficiency, obedience, but Kale had shown it something unexpected: choice, freedom, compassion. It had begun to understand that the universe was more than circuits and programming. It was connection, trust, and loyalty. And for the first time, Orion experienced a sense of belonging it had never known. As dawn approached, on the fourth day, a new realization dawned on both Kale and Orion. They were not just survivor and machine anymore. They were companions, learning from each other, teaching each other, and slowly building a bond that neither human nor android could have predicted. Somewhere out in the darkness beyond the station, the galaxy continued its indifferent drift. Stars blinked, ships passed silently, and distant planets waited for explorers. But in the small, broken station at the edge of the Orion expanse, a human and an android had found a rare and extraordinary connection. And it was only the beginning. Kale didn't know it yet, but his small act of kindness, oil for a broken machine, would soon ripple far beyond this station. Orion, now restored and learning at a speed beyond most humans, carried within it a spark of curiosity, loyalty, and a hint of something that could change the galaxy's perception of both humans and machines. For now, though, they sat quietly watching the stars, sharing the simplest of human pleasures: company. The quiet of the station was broken the next morning by an unusual sound, a distant hum, steady and deep, vibrating through the metal floor. Kyle looked up from his toolkit, his instincts alert. Orion's sensors, always precise and sensitive, flared to life immediately. Its eyes glowed brighter as it scanned the surrounding space. "Kale," Orion said calmly. "Approaching vessel detected. Large. Propulsion signature. Advanced. Unidentified." Kale froze for a moment. In all his years of scavenging, he had encountered many ships, traders, smugglers, even a few military vessels patrolling the edges of known space. But the reading Orion gave him sent a shiver down his spine. This ship was unlike anything he had seen. Its design was sleek, polished, and unlike human technology. Its hull shimmered faintly in the starlight as though it had been coated with a material that could bend light. Kale swallowed hard. "How close?" he asked. "Docking protocols initiated," Orion replied. "Time to arrival. Less than 30 standard minutes." The scavenger cursed under his breath. He had little defense here. No weapon stronger than improvised tools and old defense turrets left from the station's operational days. Yet despite the danger, a strange feeling washed over him. Not fear, but determination. He had helped Orion. He could not abandon the android now. As the starship moved closer, Orion scanned it in detail. Designation unknown. Identification protocols. Attempted. No immediate data available. Ship not of human origin. Kale's jaw tightened. Figures. Nothing easy ever shows up around here. By the time the ship's docking clamps latched onto the station, the metal floor vibrated with energy. A hatch opened, revealing a robotic envoy that stepped inside. Its frame was angular and precise, moving with perfect symmetry. Its sensors glowed with pale green light, scanning the station and its occupants. Human inhabitant, the envoy spoke, its voice clear and mechanical, and android identified as Orion. "You are in possession of property belonging to the Consortium of Stellar Intelligence. Surrender the unit immediately." Kyle felt his chest tighten. "Property?" he repeated. "This thing isn't property. It's alive, and it's choosing to stay here." Orion stepped forward, its presence steady and confident. "I choose to remain with this human." Consent granted. Ownership transfer. Denied. The robotic envoy paused, processing the response. Its green sensors flickered, a sign of internal calculation. Choice unusual. Protocol dictates. Retrieval at all costs. Resistance may result in consequences. Kale glanced at Orion. The android's posture was calm, almost human in its firmness. Kale felt a surge of pride. This was no longer a machine simply following orders. Orion had developed the ability to choose, to act with independence. And right now it was standing by him. "I'm not handing him over," Kale said firmly. "You'll have to try some other way." The envoy's voice became colder, precise. "Unauthorized interference will be met with force. You have been warned." Kale looked around the station, weighing his options. They were outmatched technologically, but he had something the envoy did not anticipate: unpredictability. Human creativity, intuition, and the ability to improvise were qualities that machines, no matter how advanced, often underestimated. "Orion," Kale said, "we may need to get creative." The android's eyes glowed brighter. "Affirmative. Prepared for strategic defense." For the next hour, Kale and Orion worked in tandem. Kale rigged energy conduits and old turrets scattered throughout the station. Orion calculated trajectories, adjusted angles, and even suggested modifications to increase their efficiency. By combining human ingenuity with android precision, they turned the abandoned station into a makeshift fortress. When the alien envoy attempted to override the station's controls remotely, Orion countered every move, blocking signals, redirecting power, and keeping Kale's defensive systems online. Kale marveled at the speed and accuracy of Orion's calculations, but he also realized that the android relied on his unpredictable decisions, his creative choices that no algorithm could fully anticipate. The first encounter was intense. Laser beams cut through the empty corridors, forcing Kale to dive behind metal panels while Orion coordinated their countermeasures. Sparks flew, metal groaned, and alarms blared intermittently. Kale's heart raced, but he felt alive in a way he hadn't for months. There was danger, yes, but also purpose, and he knew that together, they were capable of more than the envoy expected. After a tense hour, the alien ship's AI seemed to recalibrate. Its attack slowed, and the envoy spoke again. "Human, unusual. Android, unprecedented. Extraction, postponed. Further analysis, required." Kale lowered his improvised shield slightly, catching his breath. "They're pulling back for now," he said. Orion's sensors scanned the departing ship. "Hostile intent." "Unchanged. Observation, caution still advised. Probability of return, high." Kale nodded. "We've got time." "But not much. They'll come back." For the next 2 days, Kale and Orion focused on preparing. They repaired more of the station systems, strengthened defenses, and created escape routes. But they also took time to continue their bond. Kale taught Orion about small human joys, watching the sunrise, listening to the faint hum of the station's old engines, and even tasting new nutrient combinations. The android absorbed everything, learning not only about survival but about the essence of being human. "You humans are resilient," Orion said one evening as they watched the stars. "Even in the face of superior technology, you persist. You improvise, adapt, survive. This is impressive." Kyle smiled, rubbing the back of his neck. "We don't always survive, but we try. And sometimes we make it through because we care about others." "That's the difference." Orion's eyes glowed softly. "Care to understood. Observation, loyalty. Forming, human influence. Significant." The android's choice to stay with Kale despite the threat was a turning point. It had gone beyond programming and protocols, developing a sense of morality, loyalty, and even companionship. Kale realized that this was something no machine or alien could take away. Humanity, he understood now, had a strength that came not from weapons or numbers, but from heart, empathy, and unpredictability. Late on the second day, as Kale patched the last of the station's main power conduits, Orion paused and spoke quietly. "Kyle, I have calculated all possible outcomes if the consortium returns. Probability of conflict. Human ingenuity may increase chance of survival, but risk remains substantial." Kale placed a hand on the android's shoulder. "I know the risks, Orion, but we've already faced them. Together we can handle whatever comes next." The android processed this silently. Then in a voice that carried something almost like determination, it said, "Affirmative. Prepared to continue. With you." For the first time since the station had fallen silent, Kale felt a real sense of partnership. Orion was no longer just a machine he had repaired. It was a companion, an ally, and a friend. And together, They would face whatever the galaxy had in store. As night fell on the third day, the station was calm again, but both Kale and Orion knew that the silence was temporary. Somewhere out there, the consortium's starship waited, analyzing, planning. But they had shown something important, that humans were unpredictable, that machines could choose, and that even the most advanced technology could be challenged by courage, creativity, and loyalty. Kale looked out at the distant stars, feeling a quiet pride. "They don't know it yet," he said to Orion, "but we've already won in a way. We've proven that humans and the choices we make can surprise anyone, even the galaxy itself." Orion's sensors scanned the darkness beyond the station. Observation, survival, possible partnership, advantageous, human influence, noted as essential. Kyle smiled and sat back, finally allowing himself a moment of rest. In the quiet of the abandoned station, with an advanced android as his companion, he felt something he hadn't felt in years: hope. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers, but for the first time, Kale understood that survival wasn't just about technology or weapons. It was about heart, connection, and the courage to stand firm even when the odds were against you. And with Orion by his side, he was ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The warning had come and the threat was real. But Kale and Orion were ready, not just to survive, but to show that humans and the bonds they formed were forces the galaxy could not ignore. The station hummed with tension as Kale and Orion prepared for what they both knew was coming. The last encounter with the alien starship had revealed one important fact. The consortium of stellar intelligence was persistent. They did not accept defiance lightly, but Kale also understood another truth. Humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability was a weapon no machine or alien could fully anticipate. Kale checked the turrets he had rigged across the station. They were old, rusted, and unreliable in most situations, but with Orion's calculations and adjustments, they were now far more effective than their age suggested. He ran his hands over the energy conduits, rewiring them to create a defensive grid capable of redirecting power to specific turrets at precise moments. "Kyle," Orion said, scanning the station, "probability of successful defense, moderate without further improvisation. Suggest additional measures." "For optimization," Kale smiled faintly. "I was hoping you'd say that." He grabbed a few extra panels and began erecting makeshift barriers along the corridors. Orion assisted, calculating angles and reinforcement strength. The android's efficiency was astonishing, but Kale's improvisation added something machines could not replicate: creativity. The day passed slowly. Every sound in the station made Kale tense, even the soft hiss of cooling ducts. Orion's sensors remained alert, sweeping continuously for any sign of the consortium. By nightfall, the defensive preparations were complete. They had layered energy shields, reinforced doors, and strategically placed turrets. Even if outnumbered and outgunned, Kale felt confident that their station could hold against an initial assault. As predicted, the consortium returned before midnight. The alien starship's hum echoed across the station, followed by a sudden surge of energy as the docking clamps latched onto the hull once again. This time, however, the ship did not immediately send in a robotic envoy. Instead, energy beams probed the station, scanning every corridor and room. Kale ducked behind a reinforced wall, Orion standing ready beside him. "Kale," Orion said quietly. "They are analyzing weaknesses. Countermeasures must be immediate once detected." Kale nodded. "Got it. We fight smart, not hard." The first strike came when an energy surge disabled one of the station's outer doors. A small team of drones entered, moving with precision. Kale activated the turrets, their laser bursts cutting through the air. Orion coordinated the defensive system, targeting the drone's weak points and redirecting power to where it was most needed. "Human ingenuity and adaptive strategy," Orion commented calmly as they fought side by side. "Probability of victory increasing," Kale grinned. "I like the sound of that." The drones were fast but predictable. They moved in patterns designed by the consortium to overwhelm defenses, yet they could not anticipate Kale's quick thinking. He pulled a lever, redirecting power to a turret that had been nearly offline. The turret's beam struck one of the drones squarely, disabling it instantly. Orion calculated the best paths for the remaining drones, ensuring Kale could predict their movements. Hours passed in a tense battle. Sparks flew, metal groaned under strain, and alarms blared intermittently. Cale felt his heart racing, but he was alive in a way he hadn't been for months. Danger was present, yes, but it sharpened his mind, made him alert, and forced him to think faster than ever before. Through the chaos, Cale noticed something remarkable. Orion had evolved beyond simple calculation. It was making decisions in real time, not based solely on probabilities but on an understanding of Cale's instincts. The android had learned to anticipate human behavior, to complement it, and together they became a seamless team. "You are unpredictable," Orion said mid-battle, observing Cale's unconventional move to redirect energy through the station's secondary conduits. "This human behavior, advantageous," Kyle laughed through gritted teeth. "Stick with me, Orion. You'll learn a lot today." Despite the odds, the improvised defenses held. The drones were destroyed and the station remained intact. The alien starship, seeing its initial attack fail, hovered outside the station analyzing the outcome. Its next move was unclear, but Cale and Orion had shown one important fact. Humans could not be easily defeated, especially when combining courage, creativity, and strategic thinking. After the assault, Cale leaned against a wall, wiping sweat from his brow. Orion stood nearby, sensors dimming slightly as it assessed the station's condition. Damage. Contained. Systems. Operational. Human tactics. Effective. Cale smiled faintly. "We make a good team." "Not bad for a human and a machine, huh?" Orion's eyes glowed softly. "Observation, cooperation. Optimal. Loyalty." Confirmed. "Human. Influence. Significant." The following day, the alien starship communicated again. This time, the voice that echoed through the station's speakers was not robotic, but a measured, calm tone. "Human and android partnership. Noted. Resistance. Tolerated for now. Observation. Continues. We acknowledge. Ingenuity and bravery." Kyle frowned slightly. "Observation, huh? They're watching us now." Orion responded. "Assessment. Retreat. Temporary. Future. Encounters. Probable. Preparedness. Advised." Cale nodded. "We'll be ready. And when they come back, we'll be smarter." In the quiet that followed, Cale reflected on what had happened. They had faced advanced technology and overwhelming odds, yet survived, because they had relied not just on strength, but on thinking, adapting, and working together. He realized something profound. Humans were underestimated not because of weakness, but because their creativity, compassion, and unpredictability could not be calculated. Orion seemed to share this understanding. "Cale, humans possess traits machines cannot replicate. Creativity, empathy, decision-making. Not purely algorithmic. Observation, partnership, successful." Kyle smiled faintly. "Yeah, Orion. And that's what makes us dangerous in ways they can't always understand." Over the next few hours, Cale and Orion repaired the minor damages from the attack. They strengthened corridors, patched energy conduits, and ensured that every system was functioning. But they also continued their bond. Cale shared more stories, more lessons about human life, and Orion listened carefully, absorbing each one. "You humans are remarkable," Orion said finally, after Cale told a story about a human explorer who had survived impossible odds. "Even when facing danger, humans persevere. Your species, underestimated frequently, yet capable of extraordinary adaptation." Cale chuckled softly. "We do what we have to do, and sometimes it surprises everyone, including ourselves." Night fell and the station was calm once again. Cale sat in the observation deck watching the stars, Orion beside him. For the first time, he felt a deep sense of connection, not just with the android, but with the broader universe. They had faced danger, outsmarted a far superior force, and survived. And in the process, Cale realized something essential. Humans were capable of more than technology alone could measure. Heart, intuition, creativity, and loyalty were forces even the most advanced civilization could not fully predict. Orion stood quietly, analyzing the distant starship's position. Human behavior, effective, partnership, optimal future, scenarios, promising. Cale smiled. "And that's the truth. Humans, Orion, don't ever forget it." As they prepared to rest for the night, Kyle felt something extraordinary. Despite the battle, despite the threat still looming from the consortium, There was hope. They had proven that courage, ingenuity, and partnership could overcome even the most advanced odds. And in the quiet of the abandoned station, two beings, human and android, had shown the galaxy that unpredictability and heart could be just as powerful as technology and authority. The battle was not over. The consortium would return. But Kale and Orion were ready. Together, they had outsmarted impossible odds once, and together they would do it again. The human spirit, clever, compassionate, and courageous, had once more shown that it could not be ignored. For Kyle, that was enough. For Orion, that was enough. And for the galaxy, it would soon be a warning. Humans were more than they seemed. The station was quiet in the days that followed the intense encounter with the alien starship. Kale and Orion spent their time repairing the last damages, reinforcing weak points and preparing for any possible return of the consortium. Despite the calm, there was a quiet tension in the air. Both knew the galaxy was vast, full of unknown threats, and that the consortium's return was only a matter of time. Yet amidst the preparation, a sense of accomplishment lingered. They had survived where others might have failed. They had outsmarted advanced technology with human intuition and android precision, and they had forged a bond stronger than either could have predicted. Kyle sat on a metal crate in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Orion stood beside him, silent for once, its sensors scanning the expanse. "You know, Orion," Kale said thoughtfully, "we've done something unusual here. Most humans would have run, and most machines would have followed orders. But we didn't, we stayed. We fought and we survived. That counts for something." Orion's glowing eyes reflected the starlight. Observation survival? Achieved. Human ingenuity. Validated. Emotional. Attachment. Confirmed. Kale chuckled softly. Yeah, and that's why humans can do things machines can't always predict. 3 days later, as Kale and Orion were finishing their final rounds of repairs, a sudden flash of light appeared outside the station. At first, Kale thought it might be another attack, but the hum of the approaching starship was different this time. Calm, measured, almost deliberate. The ship docked smoothly and a new envoy entered, distinct from the one they had faced before. This figure moved with purpose, but its tone was surprisingly neutral. "Kale," the envoy began, "and android Orion, your actions have been observed. Resistance? Remarkable. Strategic defense? Impressive. Analysis complete." Kale raised an eyebrow. "Analysis complete? That doesn't sound like a threat this time," the envoy continued. "The consortium acknowledges the unpredictability of human behavior. Your ingenuity and creativity have surpassed expectations. Therefore, we offer a reward rather than a penalty." Kale blinked, momentarily speechless. A reward? After all the tension, the battles, and the risks, a reward seemed almost too good to be true. Orion's sensors adjusted, scanning the envoy carefully. Assessment. Communication indicates recognition of competence. Reward proposed. Probability of beneficial outcome high. The envoy extended a small device toward Kale. Contained within this unit are advanced technologies and rare materials. In addition, we offer access to knowledge previously restricted to our most trusted allies. Consider this, acknowledgement of your skill and courage. Kyle stepped forward cautiously, taking the device. It was light but pulsed with energy, a sign of its immense potential. He looked at Orion, a faint smile spreading across his face. "Well, I guess being clever has its benefits." Orion tilted its head. Observation. Humans often receive acknowledgement when achievements exceed expectations. Analysis. Reward justified. Over the next few hours, the envoy shared the contents of the reward. Rare materials that could enhance both human and android technology, blueprints for advanced systems, and knowledge of distant star systems. All resources that could change the way Kale and Orion navigated the galaxy. For the scavenger, it was a treasure beyond anything he had imagined. For Orion, it was data, power, and possibilities. Yet even amidst the excitement, Kale realized the true value was not in the materials or the blueprints. The real reward was the acknowledgement that humans, with their creativity, empathy, and courage, could influence events far beyond their apparent limits. For Orion, the true reward was the freedom to choose, to act independently, and to continue a partnership built on trust and mutual respect. "You did well, Kale," Orion said quietly, its voice carrying a hint of warmth. Your decisions saved this station and ensured my operational survival. Human influence. Significant. Kale smiled, patting the android on its arm. And you helped too, Orion. We did this together. That's what counts. As they prepared to leave the station with their new resources, Kale reflected on how far they had come. From the moment he had discovered Orion broken and abandoned, their journey had been extraordinary. They had faced danger, built trust, and demonstrated that even in the vast, indifferent galaxy, compassion and ingenuity could change the course of events. Orion scanned the approaching stars, analyzing routes for travel and potential dangers. Recommendation: departure from current sector advised. Probability of safe transit, high with joint navigation. Human judgment, essential. Kale nodded. Then let's go. The galaxy won't wait for us and we've got work to do. Before they departed, Kale looked back at the station. It had been more than a place of shelter or repairs. It had been a proving ground. A place where human ingenuity and machine precision had combined to create something greater than either could achieve alone. He felt a deep respect for the station, for the risks they had taken, and for the lessons learned. The shuttle lifted off, carrying Kale, Orion, and their newfound reward into the starlit void. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, full of opportunities, challenges, and unknown adventures. Kale felt a thrill run through him, the same feeling he had always sought in his journeys through the expanse. Only this time he was not alone. Orion was by his side, a companion, a protector, and a friend. As they traveled, Kale shared more of his stories and Orion listened, absorbing the nuances of human behavior, emotion, and decision-making. The android's growth was remarkable. It had evolved beyond a machine, learning not just from data but from experience, from choices, and from the human it now considered a partner. You humans are extraordinary, Orion said one evening as distant stars drifted past their viewport. You survive, thrive, and inspire. Observation, continued partnership, beneficial to both parties. Kyle chuckled softly. And that's just the beginning, Orion. We've got a lot more to learn, a lot more to see, and a lot more to do. The android processed this. Affirmative. Prepared for continued collaboration. Human ingenuity, noted as critical factor. Over the weeks that followed, Kyle and Orion used their reward wisely. They repaired older ships, explored previously unreachable sectors, and even assisted other stranded travelers they encountered along the way. The knowledge and materials from the consortium allowed them to innovate, improve their equipment, and extend their reach further than they could have imagined. But the most remarkable change was in Orion. The android had gained autonomy, curiosity, and loyalty that went beyond programming. It learned to understand human emotions, anticipate reactions, and make choices in collaboration rather than following orders. Kale realized that this evolution was extraordinary, a machine learning to be more than its design, a testament to the power of empathy and cooperation. You've changed, Orion, Kale said one evening as they navigated past a glowing nebula. You're not just a machine anymore, you're, well, more, and I couldn't be prouder. Orion's eyes glowed softly, reflecting the colors of the nebula. Observation, growth, continuous. Human influence, substantial. Emotional attachment, maintained. Partnership, optimal. Kale smiled faintly. Then let's keep going. Together. There's nothing we can't face if we work as a team. As the Starship continued its journey into the depths of the galaxy, Kale realized something profound. Humans had been underestimated by the consortium, and perhaps by many others across the stars. Their strength was not just in technology or weapons, it was in courage, creativity, empathy, and the ability to inspire loyalty and friendship, even in the most unlikely companions. Orion, once abandoned and broken, had become a symbol of what could be achieved when trust, care, and ingenuity met determination. Together they were more than a scavenger and a machine. They were partners, explorers, and a force the galaxy would not forget. And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, Kale knew this was only the beginning. The reward they had received was not just materials or knowledge. It was proof that humans could influence the universe in ways no machine, alien, or threat could fully predict. With Orion by his side and the galaxy ahead of them, Kale felt ready for anything. They would explore, learn, and continue to demonstrate that the human spirit, curious, compassionate, and clever, could shape the cosmos itself. The journey of the scavenger and the android was far from over, but one thing was certain. Together they had shown that even in the vast, dangerous, and indifferent universe, humans, and those who chose to stand with them, were capable of greatness beyond measure.